What are some other strategies that you would offer up for working across cultures?
Working across cultures requires the ability to be self-aware. So what's the style, the set of assumptions that you bring to a certain situation, and to see the differences. That is, if I know something about how I am and what assumptions I make around working in a business context, what's the difference in this situation that I'm looking at? And then to do what we call style switching or frame shifting. So let me give you an example. There's a fellow that we interviewed for the book by the name of Moses Macharia. And Moses works in Kenya. And Moses is a high potential individual who has been deemed a future regional leader, was moved to headquarters for a while, groomed there, and now is back in his regional role. And Moses is a candidate to someday run the whole regional operation and eventually maybe be a top executive in the company. But Moses has a problem right now, which is that his immediate boss doesn't think he has enough edge. And as you know, in the Western literature, leadership literature, everybody likes to talk about edge. And edge means that you're pushing, you're aggressive, you're not over the top, but you're doing the right thing for the business, and you're willing to call out underperformance. You're willing to challenge the organization to do better than it's currently doing. And Moses's boss, who happens to be Dutch, is demanding that he do that in a more vocal and a more public format. But if you talk to Moses Macharia and you find out what his perspective is that I'm already doing this. It's just that there are people that I used to work for in this organization before I sent out and came back, my former bosses, who they're elders in my community, and I can't just push them off a cliff. I've actually been very tough with them in private, and I've had to let one of them go, which was very painful, move them into a completely different role in the organization. And my boss wants me to have more edge, but I don't think the kind of edge he's talking about would be good for the organization, because if I were to cause these individuals to lose face in public, it would be bad for me, it would be bad for them, it would be bad for everybody. And what I'm instead doing behind the scenes is much better. And it's also, I'm being rather directive in a way that's different from what I learned at headquarters. I learned at headquarters that we're all equal and we need to push back and so forth. But I have found that in this environment, I have to actually take a more command and control approach. And so Moses is doing what's right for his region and for his market in Kenya, but his vice president doesn't actually get that yet. And so the two of them need to have a very deep and insightful conversation so that the vice president sees that Moses is actually demonstrating edge in his own context. And Moses is probably going to need to learn that when he's working back to headquarters, he's going to have to use the kind of edge that his boss is talking about. But edge can take different forms in different places, and it's vital for both of them to realize that and to have a common definition, and probably for the VP to be a little less edgier in his own terms in the African market, and for Moses to turn it on a little bit more when he's working back with headquarters. So that's the kind of working across cultures with a term that we think we know it's good, we think we know it's leadership, we think we know how to define it, but actually it's manifested in different ways, and there are better ways to be effective in a different location.